They lit up the stage, the silver screen, and the stadium with a light that seemed absolutely eternal. They were the artists, the icons, the trailblazers whose work became the soundtrack to our lives, the stories we gathered to watch, the moments of pure athletic genius that made us believe in the impossible. They had that special something, that spark of brilliance that felt like it would burn forever, a comforting and constant presence in a world that is always changing. They inspired millions upon millions of us, not just with their talent but with the very essence of who they were. And then, in a single shattering moment, the world stood still. Welcome everybody to a very special tribute. We're here today to honor the legends we've lost far too soon. This isn't just about the headlines or the breaking news alerts that flashed across our screens, leaving us in a state of collective disbelief. No, this is about going deeper. It's about understanding the human stories behind the immense fame, the private heartaches that were often hidden from the public eye. We're going to look at the unexpected, the untimely, the moments that truly shocked the world and left a void that, for so many of us, has never really been filled. These are the stories of incredible lives cut tragically short. Have you ever felt that? That profound personal sense of loss for someone you've never met? It's a powerful feeling, a testament to the connection these incredible individuals forged with us through their art and their humanity. It's the feeling of knowing the world is a little less bright without their unique light in it. If you've ever been touched by the passing of a public figure, if their music, their films, or their spirit has ever moved you, I want to invite you to join our community today. Like this video, share it with someone who understands, and subscribe as we come together to reflect on these remarkable lives. Because remembering is an act of love. It's how we keep their spirit alive, how we honor the gifts they gave us. Today we're going to do more than just list names. We are going to celebrate the legacies, explore the circumstances, and feel the collective grief that reminds us how deeply these souls touched our own. We will talk about the light they brought into the world, and we will sit with the silence they left behind. So take a deep breath and let's begin this journey of remembrance together, starting with a man whose smile was as fast and as bright as the cars he so famously drove. It was a beautiful, sun-drenched Saturday in Southern California, the kind of day that feels full of promise and life. For Paul Walker, it was a day dedicated to giving back. He was at a charity event for his organization, Reach Out Worldwide. He was surrounded by friends, by fans, by the very community he sought to uplift. He was doing what he loved, helping people. There was no sign, no warning, that this ordinary, beautiful day was about to be fractured by an unspeakable tragedy that would send shockwaves across the entire globe. He was the quintessential California golden boy, with a smile that could light up the darkest room and eyes as blue as the Pacific Ocean he so loved. On screen, he was Bryant O'Connor, the heart and soul of the Fast and Furious family. But in reality, Paul was so much more. He was a devoted father, a passionate philanthropist, a marine biologist at heart who found his truest peace in the ocean. He wasn't just playing a hero, he was living that truth every single day. The news began as a whisper, a rumor on social media that no one wanted to believe. It couldn't be true. A car crash? But then the confirmation came, and the world's heart collectively broke. The fiery wreckage, the devastating finality of it all. Paul Walker was gone at just 40 years old. The irony was gut-wrenching. The star who had become a global icon for his mastery behind the wheel had lost his life in the very thing that defined his public persona. The immediate aftermath was a blur of global grief. Fans gathered at the crash site, creating a makeshift memorial of flowers, candles, and heartfelt notes. News channels ran endless loops of his most famous scenes, his infectious laugh, his radiant smile. The world wasn't just mourning an actor, it was mourning a good man, a father, a friend. In the wake of the tragedy, a monumental challenge emerged for the cast and crew of Furious 7. The film was only halfway through production. How could they possibly continue? How do you finish a story about family when you have just lost one of your own? For a time it seemed the film might be abandoned altogether. But then, the spirit of what their franchise was all about, family, took over. They knew that Paul would have wanted them to finish. It wasn't just a movie anymore. It was a tribute. Through groundbreaking visual effects and the loving participation of Paul's own brothers, they were able to complete his performance. It was an act of cinematic love. The final scene of Furious 7 is one of the most emotional farewells in cinema history. Just two cars, two brothers, driving side by side one last time before their paths diverge. As the song "See You Again" swells, we watch Brian O'Connor drive off into the sunset, not gone, but simply on another road. It was a moment that transcended film, allowing millions of fans to grieve and say goodbye. Beyond the screen, Paul's truest legacy continues to thrive. His daughter, Meadow Walker, has kept his spirit alive through the Paul Walker Foundation. His charity, Reach Out Worldwide, continues to deploy first responders around the globe. Paul Walker's life was not defined by its tragic end, but by the incredible light he shone while he was here. A light that continues to burn brightly, inspiring us all to do good in the world. There are certain performances that don't just define a career, they redefine the art of acting itself. They become a cultural touchstone, a benchmark against which all others are measured. For Heath Ledger, that performance was his terrifying, mesmerizing, and utterly transformative portrayal of the Joker in The Dark Knight. This wasn't just a villain in a comic book movie, this was something else entirely. It was a primal force of chaos, an anarchist philosopher wrapped in a smear of greasy clown makeup. Heath disappeared so completely into the role that it was often unsettling to watch. He created a character that felt dangerously real. To prepare for the role, Heath famously isolated himself in a hotel room for over a month. He dove deep into the darkest corners of the character's psyche, keeping a diary filled with the Joker's twisted thoughts and inspirations. He developed the voice, the chillingly maniacal laugh, the twitchy, unsettling physicality that made the character so unforgettable. He was a method actor in the truest sense, but this was more than a method, it was a total immersion, a creative possession. He poured every ounce of his being into crafting this agent of chaos, and the result was a masterpiece of performance that was both brilliant and deeply haunting. The world was buzzing with anticipation for the film's release. Early whispers from the set, clips from the trailers, it was all pointing to something legendary. Heath Ledger, the handsome leading man from films like 10 Things I Hate About You and the heartbreaking Brokeback Mountain, had seemingly reinvented himself from the inside out. He had tapped into a wellspring of darkness and genius that no one saw coming. The excitement was electric. Everyone knew they were about to witness something special, a performance that would not only elevate the genre but would likely earn him the highest accolades in the industry. But on January 22, 2008, just months before the film's premiere, the world came to a screeching halt. The news broke like a thunderclap. Heath Ledger was dead at the age of 28. It was incomprehensible. How could this vibrant, immensely talented young artist, on the absolute cusp of his greatest triumph, be gone? The cause was later determined to be an accidental overdose from a toxic combination of prescription medications. The storm of his genius had come to a sudden, tragic, and silent end, leaving everyone in a state of profound shock and disbelief. The shock of Heath's passing sent a tremor through Hollywood that can still be felt today. It wasn't just the loss of a talented actor, it was the loss of a gentle, soulful, and deeply kind human being. Friends and colleagues spoke of his warmth, his inquisitive nature, and his boundless creative energy. He was a father to his young daughter Matilda, whom he adored above all else. The news was a brutal reminder of the fragility of life, even for those who seemed to possess an almost superhuman talent. The pain was palpable, a collective mourning for a light extinguished far, far too soon. When The Dark Knight was finally released that summer, it was a bittersweet, almost ghostly experience. Audiences flocked to theaters not just for a blockbuster movie but to witness a final, brilliant act from a master. Every cackle, every line, every menacing gesture was now imbued with a layer of profound tragedy. We were watching a genius at the peak of his powers, all while knowing he was no longer with us. It was a posthumous victory lap that was both triumphant and deeply sorrowful, cementing his performance not just as great, but as legendary and eternal. The following award season was a foregone conclusion. Heath Ledger swept every major award, culminating in a posthumous Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor. The standing ovation was thunderous, emotional, and cathartic. As his family, his father, mother, and sister, took the stage to accept the Oscar on his behalf, there wasn't a dry eye in the house or in the millions of homes watching around the world. It was a moment of immense pride and crushing sorrow, a final golden acknowledgement of a talent that had burned so incredibly bright before it was so cruelly taken away. The void left by Heath Ledger's death has never truly been filled. We can only wonder about the incredible roles he would have gone on to play, the stories he would have told, the art he would have created. His passing was a devastating blow to the film industry, and a heartbreaking loss for his loved ones and fans. but his legacy endures in his incredible body of work, a permanent testament to his fearless, uncompromising, and brilliant spirit. He taught us what it means to fully commit, to disappear into a role, and to create something that will, without a doubt, last forever. Chadwick Boseman, as King T'Challa, embodied a dream, a vision of power that resonated deeply. What we didn't know was the silent battle he was fighting. For 4 years through iconic performances, he underwent surgeries and chemotherapy. He visited sick children, never letting his pain dim his light. His passing sent shockwaves. The world mourned, admiration turning into awe. He was a cultural icon, a symbol of hope. Wakanda forever is a promise to carry his light forward. There are singers, there are stars, and then there is Whitney Houston. She was, and is, in a category all her own. We called her the voice for a reason. Her rise to stardom was meteoric. She shattered records and became one of the best-selling musicians of all time. But a life lived in the spotlight can cast some very long, very dark shadows. It was painful for everyone who loved her and her music to witness. The timing of her death is what makes it all the more tragic. Whitney Houston was gone. Her legacy is as complex as it is beautiful. Whitney Houston's music lives on, timeless and eternal. There are icons, and then there is Michael Jackson. He wasn't just a singer or a dancer, he was a global phenomenon who redefined music and dance. The moonwalk, the single white glove, the fedora. He was, in every sense of the word, the king of pop. It was meant to be his grand return. On June 25, 2009, the world stood still. Michael Jackson was dead. The cause of death was later revealed to be an overdose. It was a heartbreaking end to a life that had brought so much joy. His public memorial service was a global event, but what remains undeniable is his impact on music and culture. Michael Jackson's story is a reminder of the light and shadows of superstardom. He was a true original whose kingdom of music will live on forever. We turn to the story of Tim Bergling, known as Avicii. He was the architect of a sound that defined a generation. His music resonated deep within our souls. But what we see on stage is only part of the story. Behind the curtain, Tim grappled with pressures most couldn't comprehend. He spoke about his struggles, fueled by his demanding lifestyle. His death in April 2018 sent a shockwave of grief. The Tim Bergling Foundation focuses on mental health awareness and suicide prevention. It's a legacy of compassion and breaking the stigma around mental illness. His legacy is an enduring harmony of light, awareness, and the courage to speak one's truth. Selena Quintilla stepped onto the stage as a little girl, fronting her family band, Los Dinos. Selena broke down barriers with a smile and a style that was all her own. She made them feel seen, feel heard, and feel proud of who they were. At the head of her fan club was Yolanda Saldivar, someone Selena trusted. In early 1995, Selena was on the precipice of a massive crossover into the English language market. Selena's father, Abraham, began noticing financial discrepancies, pointing directly to Yolanda Saldivar. On that fateful day, March 31, 1995, Selena went to a motel to confront Saldivar. In an instant, the music stopped. At just 23 years old, Selena was gone. Her legacy, though, is eternal. She is a symbol of passion, resilience, and cultural pride. Como la flor, she lives on. Some are born into titles, but Diana, Princess of Wales, earned hers in the hearts of the people. Thrust into a world of tradition and scrutiny, she broke the royal mold. Diana chose connection and empathy. Her humanitarian work challenged fear, bringing light to the world's darkest corners. The people's princess showed the world you could be royal and have a modern heart. Relentless media attention followed her, culminating in a tragic night in Paris. Her death sent shockwaves of grief across the planet. Her legacy endures through her sons in the memory of a princess whose greatest crown was in people's hearts. When we think of laughter, one name shines brightly: Robin Williams. He was a force of nature, a master of improvisation, and his laughter was a universal language. But behind the light, a shadow was growing. His passing in August 2014 shocked us. He battled depression and Lewy body dementia. His death ripped the veil off the stigma surrounding mental health, igniting a global conversation. His most enduring legacy is the conversation he started. It's okay not to be okay, and the bravest thing is to ask for help. There are athletes, there are superstars, and then there is Kobe Bryant. He was more than just a basketball player. He was a phenomenon, a mindset, the Mamba mentality. January 26, 2020, a day that will forever be etched in our collective memory. The news came, Kobe Bryant was gone, and the world simply stopped. His 13-year-old daughter, Gianna, was with him. The grief was immediate, and it was global. He may be gone, but the Mamba mentality will live on forever. Rest in peace. There are voices that you hear, and then there are voices that you feel. Voices that get under your skin and resonate in your soul. Dolores OBrien had one of those voices. As the lead singer of the Cranberries, her sound was absolutely unmistakable. A haunting and powerful instrument that defined an entire era of music. It could be delicate and ethereal one moment like a soft Irish mist, and the next, it could erupt into a fierce, raw, Celtic wail that could shake you to your very core. That yodel, that break in her voice, it was her signature. It was pure, unfiltered emotion. The Cranberries burst onto the scene in the early 90s, and their music became the soundtrack for so many of our lives. Songs like Linger and Dreams captured that feeling of first love, of longing, of youthful hope. They were songs you would listen to in your bedroom, songs that made you feel understood, but it was their song Zombie that truly cemented their place in history. It was a roar of protest, a powerful cry against violence and conflict. Dolores wrote it in response to a bombing in England, and you could hear the anger and the heartbreak in every single note she sang. It was a song that mattered. Behind that powerful voice was a woman of incredible depth and complexity. She was shy and introverted off stage, a stark contrast to the commanding presence she had on it. She wrote from the heart, channeling her own experiences, her own pain, and her own joy into the lyrics that so many of us connected with. She was open about her struggles with fame, the pressures of the industry, and her battle with bipolar disorder. She was a woman who felt things so very, very deeply, and she had the courage to turn those feelings into art that helped the rest of us understand our own. Her voice was a constant for so many years, a familiar friend we could always turn to. Even when the band took a hiatus, her presence was felt. She was one of those artists you just assumed would always be there, creating, singing, sharing her unique gift with the world. The Cranberries had reunited, they were touring again, and there was a sense of excitement, of a new chapter beginning. She was working on new music, collaborating with other artists, and it felt like a renaissance was on the horizon, a comeback that the world was eagerly waiting for. And then, on January 15, 2018, the music stopped. The news from London was sudden and jarring. Dolores OBrien had passed away at the age of just 46. The initial reports were sparse, leaving fans in the music world in a state of shock and confusion. How could such a vibrant, powerful force be silenced so suddenly? She was in London for a recording session on the cusp of doing what she loved most. She was supposed to be recording vocals for a new version of her iconic song Zombie with another band. The timing was just so surreal and so incredibly tragic. The details that emerged later painted a picture of a tragic accident. The cause of death was determined to be accidental drowning due to intoxication. It was a devastating conclusion to a life that had brought so much beauty into the world. It wasn't the ending anyone could have imagined for her. It was a quiet, solitary end for a woman whose voice had filled stadiums and echoed across the globe. The loss was felt profoundly, especially in her native Ireland, where she was mourned as a national treasure, a voice that had carried the spirit of her homeland to every corner of the earth. The loss was not just the loss of a great artist, but the loss of what was yet to come. The loss of the new songs she was about to record, the loss of the performances she would have given, the loss of the next chapter in her incredible story. Her bandmates were left to finish their final album, in the end, using the vocal demos she had recorded before her death. It became a beautiful and heartbreaking tribute, a final farewell in her own voice. Listening to it, you can hear the passion and the life that was still so present in her, making her absence all the more poignant. Dolores OBrien left behind an indelible mark on music and on the hearts of millions. Her voice is timeless. It will continue to be discovered by new generations, and it will continue to provide comfort, strength, and understanding to all who listen. She was a true original, an artist who was unafraid to be vulnerable, unafraid to be fierce, and unafraid to be herself. Though her life was cut tragically short, her voice, that incredible, one-of-a-kind voice, will linger on forever. It will never, ever fade to silence. Aaliyah Dana Houghton was one of those souls that arrived on this earth shining so brightly. From the moment we first heard that voice, we knew she was different. She redefined what it meant to be a young woman in the music industry. Working with visionaries like Timbaland and Missy Elliott, she wasn't just following trends, she was creating them. Then, in the blink of an eye, the music stopped. August 25, 2001, is forever etched into the hearts of millions. The princess of R&B was gone. While her time was brief, her legacy is eternal. Her music lives on, a testament to a soul that shone so brightly. River Phoenix was one of those lights that you believed would shine forever. He was more than an actor, he was a symbol of a new generation, one that cared deeply about the planet. This is what made the end so utterly shattering. The narrative was about to be violently torn apart on a dark Halloween night. The setting was the Viper Room. In the early hours he stumbled out of the club, falling to the pavement. At just 23 years old, River Phoenix was pronounced dead. It was a heartbreaking lesson that the brightest lights are often the most fragile. We all remember Britney Murphy. She had a remarkable range. Behind the lights, a different story unfolded. In 2009, Britney Murphy died at 32. The coroner's report deepened the mystery. 5 months later, her husband Simon Monjack died in the same house. Their deaths cemented the case as one of Hollywood's enduring mysteries. We are left with the echo of her laughter, the memory of her talent, and the sadness of a life cut short. From the stage to the studio, the court to the crown, their stories ended too early, but their legacies endure. We've journeyed through these lives, these incredible talents and beautiful souls, and we've felt the weight of their absence. We've seen how a single moment, a tragic accident, a hidden struggle, or a shocking act of violence can rewrite a legacy, leaving us with a permanent sense of what could have been. These stories, as painful as they are to recount, are not just about the tragedy of their endings. They are about the brilliance of their time with us, the light they shared, the art they created, and the indelible mark they left on our world and in our hearts. These tragedies remind us of a profound and humbling truth. Fame doesn't protect anyone from fate. It does not build a wall against pain, against illness, against the fragility of the human condition. Behind the headlines, the red carpets, and the platinum records were real people with real struggles, people who loved and were loved. Their stories compel us to look beyond the celebrity and see the humanity, to hold on to compassion, and to remember that life, for every single one of us, is a precious, fleeting gift. Their light may have been extinguished far too soon, but the glow they left behind continues to inspire, to comfort, and to warn us forever. Let us know in the comments, which loss hit you the hardest? Whose story resonates with you the most? Your voice is part of this community of remembrance. And if you want to continue to explore the stories behind the stars and uncover the truths behind the fame, make sure you subscribe to our channel. Thank you for sharing this time with us, for honoring these incredible lives. Stay connected, and we'll see you in the next video.